Hey everybody, my name is Michael McDowell. It's great to be with you. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Rigor Redefined Placemat. The Rigor Redefined Placemat is a one-page document that you can use to essentially map out where you and your students are on these 10 key habits. We have habits in two key categories. One is on what we call dispositional habits. These are the habits that enable students to become stronger learners. This helps them with metacognition, so knowing where they're going, where they are, what's next in their learning, being able to develop that clarity, to be able to have a better sense of ways to track their own learning and to be able to separate the context of what they're learning versus the content. This also enables them to be able to give and receive feedback, handle challenges. That would be habit two. So how do students face setbacks and receive critical feedback, and also be able to provide critical feedback, being able to handle controversial issues, and really to be able to just sit in that space of discomfort that often happens when we are growing, when we're learning. Habit three is really focusing on working with others. How do we collaborate effectively? How do we make sure that we have strong self-awareness and self-management that enables us to then have high levels of social awareness and social management? And then eventually we get into this idea of consolidating learning. Like, how do we just get better at practice so that we can have easier retrieval of information and that we can build better knowledge, better ideas over time. Just like what we might see a great athlete or someone who's really great at an instrument, this is the same thing that we would be doing in reading, writing, and talking. And then we've got 6 key habits around competency. We look at rigor as the equal intensity and integration of 3 key categories of learning: knowing things, relating things, and applying things, or surface, deep, and transfer. Surface is knowing things, deep is relating things, and transfer is applying them. And habit 5 and 6 are around surface learning. How do we build knowledge together with students, and how do we check and respond to our understanding? This is both for students and for teachers. So teachers would be using a lot more explicit instruction and corrective feedback at this type of learning. We then move to deep learning, which is developing conceptual understanding and applying conceptual understanding. And this is a place where students are connecting ideas and relating ideas to understand themes and patterns and enduring understandings or principles of a specific discipline. And then we have transfer, which is the application of our learning into multiple contexts. So first, we need students to be able to build an understanding of different contextual situations in which content might apply. And then we need to be able to solve complex problems. Now, the key to this is that these are not hierarchical in nature. It's not habit 5, habit 6, habit 7, habit 8. But surface, deep, and transfer are actually taxonomical categories of learning, which means we can move in and out of each one. We could start at transfer, move to surface, move to deep. So what we want to do, I think, as teachers and working with students, is we really want to narrow into one area of disposition and one area of competency that we really want to focus on for some duration of time. Could be a few weeks, could be a unit, could be a semester, could be a whole year. That we say, hey, we really want to get students to really know where they're going in their learning. So that'd be habit 1. And really being able to understand how to connect ideas together, which would be developing conceptual understanding. So we might say, habit 1 and habit 7 are really the areas we're going to focus on. Doesn't mean we don't care about the other ones, and that doesn't mean we won't be tending to them. But these are the places we're going to capture evidence around. These are the things we're going to really track to see how well we're growing in those particular areas with students. You can do this quite simply by taking some dots, some colored dots. You could do this as a survey, and we can certainly send this survey to you if you'd like. And it's just like on a Google form, so it's super easy to do. But the idea would be, hey, do we routinely do this with students? So am I doing this and are students doing this routinely? It's not about whether you're doing it right or wrong. This isn't about precision. This is about consistency. So am I consistently doing this with students? You might be like, I'm doing this, Michael. I don't know if my students are doing this. Then that would not be green. Greens, we're all doing it. Yellow would be there's inconsistency, but we're doing it sometimes. You'd see it. If you came to my class a few times a week, you'd see some of this. And then red would be we're starting to display it. We're starting to talk about it. We're learning about it, but we're not implementing it. And this would be red. And red would be, hey, we're still in the development of that. And so you could be implementing, but if students are still kind of watching and preparing to do it, but aren't necessarily doing it, I'd put a red dot there to just say, this is where we are at this point in time. And then you'd map it out, something, like this, and say, okay, here's where we are. And then you narrow in on 1 or 2 habits that you might want to work on. And then you would select some specific routines that you would do day in, day out with students to develop and improve that habit over time. It should be small and doable. It should be something that hopefully you can do with a team so you can talk through that and look at your impact. And that's the work. And I know that all models are wrong. Some are useful. I'm not saying these are, it's only these 10 habits. These tend to lead us towards goodness. We usually find through this, I mean, there's a lot of research behind this, and there's lots of tangible practices that if we can implement this work in small and doable ways, we tend to see students not only increasing academically, but also developing the agency to start to own their own learning over time. Hopefully that helped a little bit on like how you could use this placemat. Thanks, everybody.